Okay, so what happens when a powerful online movement, one that says it's all about championing a marginalized community, starts to, well, look a little weird, like less like real grassroots activism and more like a super coordinated, almost manufactured campaign? That's what we're digging into today. We're going to delve into the world of the Foundational Black Americans Movement, or FBA, its very controversial leader, and some pretty serious questions that are being raised about its tactics online. And look, this isn't just another online debate that gets a little heated. This is a genuine social media mystery. Is it real activism, or is it something else entirely, what some are calling astroturf? We're going to look at the arguments, the evidence that suggests a movement for Black empowerment might actually be using the exact same tactics as a disinformation campaign. So let's unpack this thing together, using the source material, and see what we find. So, right at the center of this whole storm, there's one guy, Tariq Nasheed. Now, he's a media personality with a huge online following, and he's absolutely the driving force behind the FBA movement. You really can't understand the movement without first getting a handle on the man on the mic. In his career path, well, it's been a wild ride, to say the least. He actually started out in the world of dating advice, writing books like The Art of Mackin. Then he totally pivots into documentary filmmaking. And after that, he reinvents himself again as this major online commentator. And you have to understand this evolution because it's how he built the massive platform that he'd eventually use to launch the FBA movement. But yeah, his rise to fame definitely hasn't been smooth sailing. He's really built a brand on being provocative, you know? And as the sources point out, he's faced a ton of criticism for remarks that people have called misogynistic, homophobic, and xenophobic. This really polarizing style, it's a super important piece of the puzzle because it kind of mirrors the divisive nature of the movement he ends up leading. So the big question is, how does a controversial figure like this build a whole movement? Well, it all starts with creating a new and very, very specific definition of Black identity, and that is Foundational Black Americans, or FBA for short. So the core idea of FBA is pretty radical. It's all about redefining what it means to be Black in America. It's totally based on lineage, and it draws this hard, bright line between people who are descendants of American chattel slavery and Black immigrants, say from Africa or the Caribbean. And look, this isn't just about words or labels. This distinction is literally the foundation of their entire political agenda. And that distinction has a very specific goal: to carve out a separate political and economic agenda. The FBA platform is all about demanding things like reparations and policy changes just for this one specific group. The argument is that their history of oppression is completely unique and that other Black people are essentially competitors for the same resources. Okay, but the controversy around FSBA isn't just about their ideas. This is where things get really interesting. It's about how they operate online. Because analysts have started to spot a whole bunch of suspicious patterns, real red flags that suggest there might be something more going on here than just a passionate debate. So to really get what these red flags are, you've got to understand the difference between a real, genuine grassroots movement and something called astroturfing. Think of it this way. A real grassroots movement is kind of like a wildflower garden, right? It's a little messy, it's diverse, it grows organically. But an astroturf campaign, that's more like a factory assembly line. It's super disciplined, super repetitive, and it's all designed to make something look way bigger and more authentic than it really is. And according to a really detailed analysis by Omawale Africa, the FBA's online activity shows all the classic signs of one of these influence operations. I'm talking about things like targeted harassment campaigns to shut down anyone who disagrees. We're talking about synchronized messaging, where tons of accounts suddenly start using the exact same hashtags and talking points all at once. And then there's that relentless us versus them narrative, which seems tailor-made to create division inside the Black community. So you might be wondering, where do these kinds of tactics even come from? Well, it turns out there's a pretty well-established playbook for this exact kind of online manipulation, and it's the same one used by state-sponsored disinformation campaigns all across the globe. And just to be clear, this isn't some fringe conspiracy theory. Major news outlets have documented this stuff for years, how foreign governments run these huge, covert networks of fake accounts on all the social media platforms. And what's the goal? It's simple. Find the existing social tensions, pit different communities against each other, and just generally sow chaos and distrust. And here's exactly how they do it. It's like a 4-step playbook for any digital influence op. Step 1, identify the fishers. Find the existing cracks in a society, the real arguments, the real tensions. Step 2, create personas. You build a whole network of fake accounts that look totally authentic. Step 3, amplify grievances. You jump into the conversation and just pour gasoline on the fire, pushing the most extreme us versus them narratives. And the final step, sow distrust. Make people lose faith in institutions, the media, and even their own community leaders. So you can see why, when critics look at the FBA movement and see them using these exact same tactics, it leads them to a really, really uncomfortable question. Who's actually pulling the strings here? Okay, now we need to be absolutely crystal clear on this next point. The sources we looked at are not presenting direct evidence that Tariq Nasheed or the FBI movement are secretly working for a foreign government. There's no smoking gun here. The argument is more subtle. It's that their online behavior mirrors the tactics of a state-sponsored disinformation campaign. And whether that's intentional or not, the end result is exactly the same: more division and more distrust. And this quote from Omawale Africa really gets right to the heart of the whole thing. It asks a simple question. When a movement claiming to be for Black people spends the majority of its time attacking other Black people, one has to question the motives. And that's the core of the criticism, right? If your stated goal is empowerment, why are your tactics so divisive? The argument from critics is that the actions just don't line up with the mission. So really, the whole FBA movement serves as this powerful modern-day case study of the challenges we all face in this digital age. You've got a charismatic leader, a powerful new identity, and a playbook of online tactics that looks almost identical to the ones used by foreign states to weaken us. And it all leaves us with a really tough question, one that goes way beyond this single movement. In a world of algorithms and bots, how do we ever know who's really talking?